For this project, the first thing you will be doing is folding your paper into a window fold. To do this, remember to turn your paper the tall way and fold the bottom up to the top. Line up your corners as carefully as you can and then give it a crease. Next, we will pinch the edge to make sure that we've got a nice, clean crease. Then open up the paper and fold it the other direction so that you can get 4 smaller rectangles once you open up your paper. Again, line up the corners the best you can and give it a nice crease. Open it back up and lay it flat so that you're all ready to begin working. For the next part of this project, we will be drawing irregular shapes. Irregular shapes are combinations of curved and straight lines that don't really look like any regular shape that we're used to. While they're not circles, squares, or triangles, they're also not the shape of flowers or clouds. They're exactly like their name has said, irregular. They shouldn't really look like anything, just a little abstract. You can see in my example how I'm combining curves with straight edges. Create 4 different irregular shapes within your space of your paper. Try not to make them look like anything. Now that you've drawn your irregular shapes, it's time to make them into monsters. Later on, these are going to become papier-mâché monsters, so we want to keep in mind a couple of things. One is that making skinny legs or skinny arms or hands is going to be more difficult, so it might be a good idea to try something more like fins or wings or something unique as a way for your creature to move around. One of my favorites is to add just small little toes on the bottom of them. It's up to you to decide how you want to go about it. You also want to think about how you are going to design the eyes, nose, and mouth or mouths of your creature. I want you to think about making it look less like a human. So instead of 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 feet, 2 hands, 2 eyes, etc., I want you to think of doing only one of something or doing maybe 3 or 4 instead. So for example, if I'm doing eyes instead of 2 eyes, I might make just 1 big eye, or I might make 3 eyes in a row. It's up to you to decide how you will make it look a little bit more like a monster or creature and a little less like a human. Also think of different components of animals that you could add to your creature. For example, yours might have a pig snout, like you'll see on one of mine, or maybe an elephant's trunk. You can also think of different kinds of wings that you might want to add if that's something you're interested in. It could be anything from a bat style of wings to a bird, or even a butterfly or dragonfly. There are many different options to choose from. You can also think of different things that might be on the head of your creature. Some creatures might have ears that stick off, but other ones might have horns or antennas that stick off of them instead. It's also important to think of if your creature will be friendly or a little more on the scary side. While we don't want to make anything too scary for school, you could make something with more pointed teeth if you want it to be scary, or maybe use some darker colors. If you want it to look more friendly, you might want to have more square or rounded teeth, kind of like we have. It's up to you to decide what kind of a character you will use. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is that for this project, when we do get to coloring, you're only going to be able to choose 3 colors for your creature. So it's important to think about what those 3 colors will be and how they will represent your character. For example, like I said, if you want to make a character that's a little bit darker or scarier, you might want to use deep dark colors like maybe blacks or dark purples and blues. If you want something that's a little bit more happy and friendly, you might want to use bright yellow, bright green, bright pink, or maybe a color that is a little bit of a pattern. So maybe you have like some polka dots or stripes to make it look a little bit more friendly. It is up to you to decide how you want to create your creature, but I want you to be intentional. So that means that you're thinking about these things ahead of time and trying to do them on purpose. So again, we don't want it to look like a human, and we do want to think about what our character is going to be like, what its personality is like, so that we can determine what kinds of colors, shapes, and things that we want to use on our individual character. As I get started working, I'm going to think also about where the location of different parts of my creature will be. For example, on this one, I will make my eyes sticking up off of the top of the head to make it a little bit more interesting. You can also do more of traditional eyes that are inside of your character. After you add your eyes, it's important to think about what kind of nose and mouth or mouths your character will have. Be creative and try lots of different options on your different sketches so that you have something that you will be very proud of in the end. Oftentimes in art, our first idea isn't our best idea, so it's good to try some different things on the different characters in each section of your paper so that you can come up with the best idea you can make. Another fun thing to do with your characters is to divide up the space of their body. You might want to add a section at the top or around the middle where their colors will change. That's one way to make your character a little bit more interesting. You can also think of textures like the fur that I added on the one in the top left corner. When you look at these, you should be able to see that I was inspired by some different animals and insects as I was creating them. You can do the same thing. Be inspired by the world around you. One last reminder I want to give you is that things that stick off of your creature will be harder and harder to create with the paper mache. So it's best to stick mostly to your blob shape and not add on lots of legs and arms and extra things sticking out to the side. Be creative, have fun with your blob shape, and try and figure out what you can do with it to turn it into a monster. I can't wait to see what you come up with.